What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Inside Trading. Today, we're doing a market recap for the week of January 26th through January 30th. Today, we'll be covering macro news, commodities, cryptos, and a couple stocks within the Magnificent Seven. If you're trading stocks, crypto, or commodities, stick around because this was a week full of exciting news. The biggest story of this week was the Federal Reserve's policy decision and the end of week announcement of the next Fed chairman. On Wednesday, the Fed held interest rates steady in the 3.5 to 3.75 range, keeping rates unchanged yet again as the economy was judged to be on a stable footing. Fed Chair Jerome Powell emphasized that inflation remains above target and that the Fed will continue to assess data before adjusting policy. Later in the week, President Donald Trump officially nominated former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh to succeed Powell as the next Fed chairman once Powell's term expires in May. Warsh's nomination sparked market reactions, particularly in precious metals, which saw sharp sell-offs amid expectations he may maintain tighter policy and defend Fed independence. Wall Street showed cautious optimism overall, viewing Warsh as a relatively conventional pick, even as his confirmation faces political headwinds. This week's Fed news was all about keeping rates steady and signaling higher for longer, with markets now focused on who takes the gavel at the Fed. This week, the S&P 500 hit fresh all-time highs driven by strong earnings and optimism in tech. On Tuesday, the index pushed to 7,000 for the first time before settling near that level post-Fed. Overall, the index finished mixed on Friday, with Friday's pullback not erasing its weekly gains driven by earnings strength. This tells me traders are still bullish on big growth names, even as fundamentals dictate caution. One of the standouts in sector news this week was United Health Group. On Monday night, Trump announced that Medicare Advantage pricing will only increase 0.09% for 2027, far lower than the 5% that investors were hoping for. On Tuesday morning, United Health reported that its year-over-year earnings are down roughly $2.3 billion. The company also reported with weaker than expected guidance. With Trump's announcement on Monday night and the lackluster earnings report on Tuesday, the stock dropped down almost 20%, resulting in one of the largest drops in large cap stocks in 2026. The disappointing Medicare Advantage pricing outlook and sector-wide pressure saw healthcare stocks suffer as well. Analysts cut targets and sentiment turned bearish. This was one of the biggest individual stock stories this week, especially in the Dow and healthcare space. This is a great example of how one sector or even one stock that is so heavily weighted within an index can impact the entire index. We are currently working on an episode that covers exactly that. Make sure to keep a lookout for it. Another major theme this week was commodities, especially precious metals and industrial metals. Gold hit all-time highs, surging above 5,600 per ounce early in the week before pulling back later as markets reacted to Fed news. On Friday, gold dropped by roughly 8%. It finished out the week around 4,900 for a weekly loss of around 4%. Silver also rallied to historic levels, briefly reaching $120 per ounce before correcting. On Friday, the price of silver dropped roughly 25%. Silver finished out the week at a little over $85 an ounce for a weekly loss of around 20%. Copper, a key industrial metal, continued its surge. Copper reached $6.50 per ounce on Thursday, driven by global supply and demand constraints. Copper finished out the week just under $6, roughly breaking even for the week. With AI being one of the biggest drivers of economic growth and AI data centers requiring so much copper, I don't foresee a significant drop below $6 anytime soon. Commodities remain a major macro highlight, often reacting first to inflation expectations and geopolitical tension. Let's talk crypto. Here's how some of the biggest coins performed this week. Bitcoin fell below 84,000 a coin this week for a weekly loss of 6%. Ethereum traded lower along with Bitcoin, dipping to below 2,700 a coin. Ethereum finished down this week for a loss of roughly 8%. Solana dropped lower to finish the week at around $120 a coin for a weekly loss of about 8%. XRP also posted weekly losses. Dropping to $1.75 a coin, XRP finished the week with a loss of roughly 10%. I believe the downward trend in crypto that we have seen for the last few months can be attributed to crypto's 4-year cycle, and I don't expect to see a reversal of that downward trend for at least another 6 months. Tesla was in focus during a heavy week in tech earnings. Tesla saw mixed trading with volatility tied to earnings and a broader tech weakness. The company continues to expand into energy and AI positioning. The automotive revenue pressures weighed on sentiment. This week, Elon Musk announced that Tesla would stop production of its Model S and Model X electric vehicles in order to focus on robotaxi production and development of humanoid robotics. Do I believe Elon will deliver on his promises? Yes. Do I also believe that Elon has a history of taking much longer to deliver on his promises than he says? Also, yes. One rumor on Wall Street is that Elon will merge SpaceX with Tesla instead of IPOing SpaceX. I find some credibility to this rumor as it would help Tesla maintain its 200 times price to earning ratio. However, this is just a rumor and nothing has been confirmed yet. With all the reorganization and new developments within Tesla, I expect to see more headlines about Tesla over the coming weeks and months. Apple wrapped up its earnings with solid results, boosting confidence in services revenue and iPhone demand. Apple reported earnings mid-week with generally stronger than expected figures. Earnings for fiscal first quarter revenue was reported at just under $144 billion, beating analyst estimates of $138 billion. However, its stock chopped this week as investors balanced guidance with broader macro pressures. Apple finished the week up a little over 3%. Between the Fed holding rates steady, the nomination of the next Fed chair, record commodity levels, and another tech earnings gauntlet, this week was one we'll be talking about for a long time. If you're trading these markets, make sure you're watching macro and sector catalysts like these as we head into February. If you like this recap, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us which market you're watching next. This has been your weekly recap. I'm your host, Joe White, and until next time, remember to plan for how you act or act for how you plan.
This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute as financial or investment advice. The host and guests may hold positions in stocks discussed. Opinions expressed are not recommendations. Please do your own due diligence and consult a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.